Welcome back to the Stay Hype podcast, where I help you heighten your personal experience through my own experience on this earth. I'm your host, Kristen, and today's episode is titled, I Had No Energy Left to Be Angry. And the reason for that title is because it's true. You guys know I like to just jump right in, so let's get to it. If you listened to last week's episode, I know that you could feel the anger and the resentment oozing from the tone of my voice, my body language, the seriousness, just everything. There was a particular situation that happened with my dad that just infuriated me. And even though that we are in no contact and I haven't spoken to him since the end of April, I was still finding myself being so deeply impacted by his energy and by his actions and by his decisions or lack thereof, just like in childhood. So I'll be honest, when I made that episode last week, I was very triggered. I was very triggered. I had just gotten off the phone with my sister and receiving an update, and I had it up to here. I was just like, I am so tired of this man, I was just so angry and all that. And I think that there is a time and place in our healing journeys where our anger is very valid. It's very necessary. It's the catalyst to a lot of healing because as we go through these journeys, as we start to become more authentic and real about our emotions and feelings, we come to realize that we actually have a lot of pent up anger and resentment towards certain people in our lives. And rightfully so, right? There's a lot of things that have happened to us that are warranted of being angry and being resentful, especially when you haven't really received an apology, a genuine apology, and the person that you're angry at has never taken the accountability, and it just, has always felt like your feelings have just been pushed under the rug, right? But then once you allow your inner child to really rage and be angry and scream and cry and you journal and you process and you get that out, there then becomes this period where like the anger and resentment starts to suffocate you. It starts to become part of your identity. It starts to become something that you define your everyday life with when it comes to whoever it is that you have this resentment and anger towards. And for me, it's been my father, it's been my ex, multiple exes, it's been friends that are no longer in my life. And I realized that I was carrying a lot of pain and anger and resentment towards several people, not just my father. And it was getting to a point where I could no longer even wear the mask that I used to wear in childhood, in my early adulthood and teen, where even though I was really angry about something or hurt or sad, I was able to just put on this mask and just smile and pretend like everything's good. And I'm not able to do that anymore. It's really hard for me to do that, nor do I want to. I want to feel it so I can heal it. And so when it came to my anger, for me, just like my dad, my anger has been a defense mechanism. It's been a security blanket, if you will. Because if I continue to be mad at my father, if I continue to stay mad at my ex, if I continue to stay mad at certain friends, then I don't have to acknowledge the true deep sadness that I actually feel. Because for some reason, in our society and in my family, showing that sadness is such a sign of weakness. It's a sign of like you don't really have it together because you're still sad. It's a sign of you still care, which why is that a bad thing to still care about someone or a situation? And so this last week, since I recorded the last episode, has been extremely heavy for me. I've had to really sit with my feelings. I pulled back on my schedule for live. As know, I used to go live 6 days a week every morning except Saturday, and I had to scale back. I had to take a few days off because I could not show up. I couldn't show up. And on my live, I don't have to show up like this. I don't have to show up super happy all the time. I'm very transparent on my lives, and I think that's why I connect so much with my community and my audience, is because on the days that I'm mad, you're You're going to know it. On the days that I need to cry, those tears are flowing. I don't hold back any of my emotions anymore. But I think I was lying to myself. I was lying to myself that I hated my dad, or I hated my ex, or was just didn't care about these friends that I no longer had. And that was keeping me stuck. I needed to allow myself to really get real. There's anger there, but there's also a lot of sadness. There's also a lot of disappointment, right? And for some reason, I was having such a block feeling that, allowing myself to feel it. And then I had to remember, Kristen, you're still healing. You're healing every single day. You're not going to be perfect. And you have to remember that you spent the majority of your life wearing this mask and not being honest about your feelings to protect yourself from being vulnerable. And then once I realized, who am I protecting myself from being vulnerable against? Me? And then that's when the walls could come down. And when the walls came down this week, I realized I don't want to be angry at my father anymore. I don't want to be angry at my ex. I don't want to be angry at certain friends anymore. I want to forgive and release everyone. The anger and the resentment was weighing on me so heavy, and I didn't even realize it. And I know that forgiveness, true forgiveness, and truly being able to still empathize and love the people who have hurt me was the answer. Because I know that I've hurt other people. I know that I haven't been the best friend and the best daughter at times, and there's certain things that I've done, right? And I deserve that forgiveness. I deserve that forgiveness. There's no other way to put it. And if I deserve it, why don't the other people who have hurt me, who have done things wrong, why don't they deserve it? And it doesn't mean that I have to go run and have these people in my life and call the phone and say we need to all be back together. And honestly, I know that despite me having these revelations around my father and wanting to have deciding to have more compassion and see him through the lens of love instead of this anger and resentment that's been driving me this whole time, I know that he still is who he is at the end of the day. And so I don't want to have unrealistic expectations that now that I've had this epiphany, now that I've decided to love my father, and well, I've always loved him, but I've decided to have more compassion and empathy for him rather than hatred, anger, and resentment, that's going to change the dynamic. Nor do I think it's going to change the dynamic with me and my ex or change the dynamic with me and friends. It's not for that. It's for me. It's for me to finally make peace and say, I've been angry. I've processed the anger. The anger was valid at one point, but now I am making a conscious choice to continue staying in this low vibration. I'm making a conscious choice to say, well, since I didn't get the proper apology that I think I deserve, since you didn't reach out like you should have, or since that you did this and you did that, I'm going to stay this way. But who is that hurting? My friends are going on with their life. My ex is going on with his life. My dad is going on with his life as well. Everyone is still living and doing the things that they need to do and want to do. And I'm the one that's sitting here still harboring these feelings. Do I feel this extreme anger every day? No, I definitely have had a million high vibe days and I feel good, but it's been an underlying thing. And I, after last week, after feeling that anger, it just took over me, and I couldn't even get out of bed some of the days. I was just laying in bed all day, which was okay. That was the guidance I was being given, to just sit still and stop distracting myself, being out and being chatty and being on social media and trying to show up on TikTok. I realized that those were distractions for me. And even though I was giving people advice on how they need to forgive and how they need to let go, I wasn't taking that advice myself because I'm not perfect. It's easier to give out the information than to actually take it, right? Once we get to the point where we start taking our own advice, then we start to see change and growth. And so I just got tired. I love my father. I do. I really, really do. Despite the abandonment, despite the abuse, despite the nasty, horrible things that we've been through, there's also some very beautiful moments that I cherish. There's also a lot of things that he has taught me over the last 36 years and that I'm still learning Even when I'm not even in contact with him, I'm still learning. And the biggest thing that I've learned is unconditional love, because despite not feeling the unconditional love from my father, my past relationships, certain friends, I still have the capacity to give unconditional love back, even though that's not something that I've received. I'm bigger than my trauma and my pain. I'm stronger than the things that have happened to me, and I don't want these situations that have been weighing me down to change my heart, to make me more callous, to make me more just shut down and guarded. I don't want that. It feels so good for me to love. It feels so good for me to have compassion and to see people as their wounded self as well, to see the people who have hurt me as hurt individuals as well, just like I'm hurt, just like I've taken my anger out on other people because the person that I really wanted to take it out on didn't receive it, didn't hear it. And so if I deserve forgiveness, if I deserve a second chance, to be this person that I know that I am, then why can't I give that to others? And I don't want to have any type of resentment or ill feelings towards anyone anymore. I think that when things happen and situations arise, yes, we're going to have some anger and that's healthy, but how long are we going to hold on to it? How long are you going to hold on to resentment? How long are we going to hold on to these feelings? Once we've processed it, once we've made peace with it, once we've accepted the people for who they are, even if it doesn't feel good, even if who they are doesn't resonate with us, or we can't understand why people are doing what they're doing, it's where they're at right now. And the more that we try to resist the fact that people are who they are at the end of the day, and that everyone's going through their own struggle and their own battle and their own journey and their own demons, the sooner that we can accept that, the more free that we become. It was my unwillingness to accept my father. It was my unwillingness to accept the things that happened in my last relationship. It was my unwillingness to accept the friendships that I've lost and the reasoning for that, um, that was keeping me so stuck in this loop of just resentment and anger. And for a while, it felt okay. For a while, it was just like, okay, this is fine. I'm angry. I'm resentful, whatever. Um, but once the situation with my dad happened last week, it just pushed me over the edge. And I was like, you know what? I am never going to be able to change this man. I'm never going to be able to force him to see me and understand that his actions are deeply impacting me in a negative way. What I can do is learn to navigate how he continues to show up and not let that impact me so deeply. I can let go and say it is what it is. I can let go and say he is who he is. But that doesn't mean that I have to be resentful and angry just like he is. I don't have to continue matching that energy. I can make a different choice to forgive and love him anyway. I can make a different choice to still have my boundaries to protect myself and my inner child, but I can still speak about him with compassion. I can still speak about him with love. I can still talk about the positive things that he's attributed to my life. I can still talk about the beautiful characteristics that are him and my ex and other friends and everything. The duality exists in all of us. The darkness that I see and feel in other people also exists within me. And so it just clicked. I'm no better. I'm no worse. We're just all at different points of this journey. And I've evolved past the low vibration and the back and forth that I was so comfortable with my dad. My dad is sick. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if he has 5 more years. I don't know if he has 5 more days. But what I do know is I want to make peace. And so, with that being said, I am going home by the time you guys will hear this. Yeah, I won't be home yet, but I am going home back to Florida on the 14th. Been given so many signs and synchronicities to go back home, and I realized that I needed to just remove myself from the situation back home. And traveling has always been my way to escape a little bit, but also to really be isolated so that I can really deal and sit with my feelings. It's something that I've always done. It's not that I'm maladaptively isolating and not talking to anyone, because I still talk to safe friends and trusted people and talk about my emotions, but I handle things a lot on my own. It takes me a while to process things. It's just how I am. And now that I've really gotten to this point, I've been given the guidance and the synchronicities and the signs that it's time for me to go back home. And I'm very excited to reconcile. I'm very excited to continue healing and just to really step into this new chapter, because I feel like a new chapter is starting, because once one cycle ends, another one can begin. And yeah, I feel like that's what's happening here with these revelations and this epiphany, that I need to forgive everyone and everything. I don't want to carry any more heaviness in my heart over people that have disappointed me and hurt me, and also not just play the victim that I didn't have any role in these situations. I forgive myself, I forgive them. It doesn't mean that we have to be in each other's lives, but I don't have to carry the negative feelings anymore. Whew. That felt good. It felt good. I know it's so extreme from one week to another, but sometimes we need these events to really wake us up. And last week, that event with my dad and what happened really woke me up. And I realized that I was going down the same path as he has been on, without with the inability to forgive, the inability to let go, the inability to move forward. And I don't want that for myself. I don't want to continue that cycle. I'm here to break the cycles. And if I'm breaking the cycle, that means I have to do something different than those before me. And the thing that I'm doing different is I'm choosing to let go, let God, and forgive and love anyway. Even though my dad was not able to provide the love that I wanted and needed, it doesn't mean that I still can't give that love to him. He has had enough shame, guilt, blame all within himself. I don't need to add any more to that. He knows the truth, whether he can admit it or not, and I don't need him to validate my truth anymore. What I can do is choose to see him through the lens of love. I can choose to see him as his wounded inner child who was very, very neglected. And I can choose to make a choice to love him regardless of his inability to love me. And that is what empathy, true empathy, is in my eyes. So I hope that if you resonated with this, if you're on a similar journey, if you've been dealing with so much anger and resentment, that this can help you see that we do have choices, and that just because we're so comfortable in our anger, we don't have to stay there. And it's very heavy. These low vibrational feelings are very heavy. And today is the lightest that I've felt in a very long time. And I'm actually very excited to get home and spend time with my family. And if the opportunity does present itself, I want to be there for my dad in his sickness. I want to be there for him. And I want to show him and let him know how much I love him, because I do. And that's the truth. And that's it. You know, I don't want to pretend otherwise, because I don't hate him, and me pretending like I do is just a defense mechanism that I don't need to have anymore. I know how to protect myself. I know how to protect my inner child, and I don't have to wear this mask anymore. So I feel amazing. I hope that this episode resonated with you. I hope that you are pushing through your healing journeys. I know this is not for the weak. And if you're on this journey, you are very strong. I'm very proud of you. I'm proud of you for feeling. I'm proud of you for releasing. I'm proud of you for being real about how you feel. And thank you so much for listening. If you want to stay in touch with me on social media, it's underscore stay hype. I only have one page on each platform. So I know I've had a lot of scam pages floating around. So please don't fall victim to that. And if you want to support me in the podcast, please subscribe. There's a link in the description if you want to subscribe and support me. And I just appreciate all the kind messages, my TikTok family, my live family, you know who you are, all of your love, my friends, my family, just everyone who has supported me during this really difficult time in my life. I literally wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys, because we can't do it alone. And the good thing is we don't have to. So that is my time. I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your day, night, whenever you're listening to this. And I will see you back in Florida next time. Bye.